4K and obtainable probably contradict each other, but we've built a more sensible 4K gaming PC with the help of today's sponsor, FSP. We all know the RTX 5080 is the ultimate graphics card, but it comes with an ultimate price which is probably only going to get worse with the current ongoing RAM problems we have right now. So an RTX 5080 is probably more of a obtainable GPU, I'd like to say. It's a bit more tame, I can't really believe I'm saying that, but it still has pretty decent performance, over half of the RTX 5090, if that makes sense. But it's around half the price, even for a higher end model like this MSI Supreme. It's completely beefy, it's absolutely huge in fact, but it runs super cool, super quiet, and yeah, it's a pretty nice looking GPU as well. We're going to need a good CPU to drive this, and we've gone with the 7800X3D. This is one of my most favourite CPUs of all time, even though I really haven't had it for that long. And to be honest, for native 4K, it's probably a bit overkill, yes, even for a 5080. Here you could go with a 9700X, that would still do the job perfectly fine, but the 7800X3D will stretch its legs when we use some upscaling, particularly DLSS unbalanced, and X3D CPUs are a bit more tolerant of slower and looser timed RAM, which could be very beneficial in today's, well, current sort of market. If you choose either CPU, you're still on AM5, it's the best platform right now, you've still got some upgradability down the line. Speaking of which, the 7800X3D is being slotted into the B850 Tomahawk. This is, I wouldn't say it's a no frills motherboard, that's not being fair on it, because it's got everything a gamer should probably need. It will run a 7800 or 9800X3D with absolutely zero issues. You can still do your memory tuning, even like Expo and XMP, that all works on here, and even Precision Boost Overdrive works fine on this board. Yeah, you don't really need an X870E if you're not taking advantage of the extra features. So you can save some of your money because you're going to need to spend more of that on RAM. Speaking of which, we've gone with 32GB of 6000 mega transfer CL30 Kingston Fury Beast. It's the sweet spot for AM5 CPUs, especially X3D ones. For the NVMe, get a Gen 4 drive in a capacity which suits your needs, and don't worry, you don't need to replace this because there are 2 extra slots available on the B850 Tomahawk, so you can just slot another NVMe later down the line, say if you're storing too many games, which I might be guilty of. FSP's MP7 was great calling the 7800X3D last time we tested it, and yeah, we're going to use it again because why not? Air calling a 7800X3D just makes sense. This CPU barely uses any power. Yes, it does get hot, but that's because of the internal sort of CPU layout. That's nothing to do with coolers, and it's nothing to do with the MP7 because we've got dual towers, dual fans, and the 7800X3D is not going to be throttling under a gaming workload. And helping out with that cooling is the case. FSP's U580 comes included with 6 reverse blade intake fans, so no matter what sort of GPU and CPU combo you're going with, odds are they're going to stay pretty cool. And you've got one regular 120mm for exhaust as well, but it looks similar to the rest of them, just the blades are not reversed. Yeah, you catch my drift. The RGB can be controlled as you see fit. If you don't want to install software, you can just do it through the case, or if you want to match it up with the rest of the components in your PC, you can do it through your motherboard's RGB software like MSI Mystic Light, Gigabyte, RGB Fusion, or Asus Aurosync, or whatever your motherboard has. There is one note with the U580, and that's its compact size. If you're going with a big GPU or maybe even a big air cooler, you need to pay attention to the clearance. Yes, the Supreme RTX 5080 fits in this build, but only just. The 12V 2x6 is being bent at a 90-degree angle, and if you know anything about this power connector, that's not good. It's kind of a fire hazard, to be honest, so you'd probably be better off getting a smaller card like a Founders Edition or something like a Ventus RTX 5070. That GPU is still not a free slot, it's a free fan, but it's a lot more slimmer, if that makes sense. If you go with any of those GPUs, the power isn't going to be as harsh as a 5090, so we can use an 850 watt, particularly the Vita 850 GM from FSP. It's got both an 80 plus and cybernetics gold rating, so it's really efficient, and it's also got all the features you'd ever need. It's fully modular, it's got a native 12 volt 2x6 connector, and it can provide 70 amps on the 12 volt rail. So if you've got a 5070 Ti or even a 5080, you're absolutely sorted in terms of your power. And it's about 100 quid as well, which yeah, is pretty good for what you're getting. All built, and I really like the compact nature. There's just something about the density in a build like this which just looks right. I don't like PC builds with a lot of empty space. They kind of look like they're just wasting all that space. Yeah, maybe this build is a bit too dense, especially with the 5080 Supreme, because it's a bit too close to that side panel. So if you're planning on putting a 5080 in a build like this, I probably wouldn't go with one of the chunkier ones, which is kind of hard because most of them are absolutely massive these days, so a Founders Edition might be the option for you. Or you could go with something like the YV Pro from Thermal Grizzly, as that makes it a right angle sort of connector on the 12 volt high power, so it won't burn and destroy your graphics card. Aesthetically, yeah, I don't really want to change much about this PC. I could probably put some exhaust fans in the top. It's not a necessity, but it'd probably add a bit of extra lighting, and not to mention extra airflow out of the case as well. But I'd like to add more of these fans, as I really do like the infinity mirror on the fan hub and the side of them as well. Like the RGB looks absolutely great on these, especially when it's set to a static colour. Yes, we don't like all these brain rot flashy RGB all over the place. Aesthetics are all well and good. How well does it play games? After all, that's what you buy a gaming PC for. But to be honest, it gets on quite well, because in Cyberpunk 2077 set to the Ultra preset at native 4K, we're getting around 70 FPS on average. This is great. Cyberpunk scales quite well with resolution, so yeah, the fact that it's getting around 70 FPS at native 4K is great. But if we enable DLSS on balanced, yeah, the performance is getting more than 100 FPS on average, so yeah, that's very good. And the 1% lows are also looking pretty decent here as well. Battlefield 6 on the high preset with ultra textures, yeah, you're not going to be having any problems at all. I could have tested ultra, but you want slightly more frame rate in first person shooters, well, at least I do. At native 4K, you're still getting in the triple digits, and the 1% lows are only trailing that by like 19 FPS, so that's great. And then enabling DLSS on balance, we claw back some performance, and the 7800X3D is certainly pulling its weight here. I quite like Arc Raiders, not because it's a really good game, but because it's also optimized, which is so incredibly rare on Unreal Engine 5. It's kind of a myth. Like, we got 78 FPS on average at 4K native, with a 1% low of 58, not the best in the world, but it's still more than playable. But balanced DLSS claws back a lot of performance, going up to 128 on average, and that 1% low at 87 is still looking pretty decent, so the frame time, not many problems on this PC, which is great. Don't Like the Beast is the only game to get below 60 FPS on average at native 4K, but to be honest, it's not that much of a problem because this is on the high preset, which is essentially ultra in this game, and the frame time is still looking pretty smooth as well. But when we enable DLSS on balance, we claw back a ton of performance. We almost double in frame rate, in fact, which is great. We're going to the triple digits now, yet the frame time is buttery smooth in this game. It's incredibly well optimized. Great job to the guys over at Techland. You've done a good job polishing this game. Rainbow Six Siege is sort of our esports game, and yeah, no matter which resolution you're playing at, you're going to be getting great performance, especially with the 7800X3D. At native 4K, you're good enough for just under 280 FPS, which is brilliant. The 1% low is also looking fantastic here as well. DLSS balanced, well, it gets you more than 420 FPS, which is very nice, and the frame time is still looking very smooth here, so that's a more competitive gaming experience if you've got one of the new 4K 240Hz OLED monitors, which I've just received, so make sure you stay tuned for that. You're going to be having a fantastic gaming experience here. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, like we come to expect, is absolutely well optimized, and we've got no problems across both resolutions here. 73 FPS at 4K is very good, especially with a 1% low of 67. Yes, 67, I know. You can comment that down in the comments if you want. But enabling DLSS nets us a lot more performance, going up to 113 on average, which is very nice, and the 1% low is still very smooth. Warhorse, you're an absolute godsend. Your optimization game is fantastic. We're not done yet though, because we've tested Cyberpunk on the RT Ultra preset only with DLSS on balance, as that's how I usually play ray tracing titles. And yeah, we're still getting more than 70 FPS on average with a 1% low of 57, so that 16GB of VRAM is holding up. And the 7800X3D is also pulling its weight, because ray tracing does put a bit of an extra load on your processor as well. All in all, very respectable performance from this PC, but to be honest, we should be expecting this. It's got a 5080 and a 7800X3D, so it's in like the top 5% of gaming PCs in the world. Yeah, I was kind of surprised that Dying Light the Beast was the only game to get below 60 FPS at native 4K. Not really that much of a problem. It was slightly behind it, and DLSS on balance got more than 100 FPS, so there's absolutely zero problems there. But where you might run into issues is playing unoptimized Unreal Engine 5 games in particular, especially at native 4K. The 5080 and even the 5090 struggles in some of these, so yeah, that's just spaghetti code messes on the developer's part. But you can always enable frame gen if you want it. It's kind of controversial, to be honest, or you could go with upscaling instead. Games perform and look good. The PC also looks good too. What more could you possibly ask for? Maybe for RAM prices to come down. Yes, we can wish. It might be quite a while off, especially with Micron pulling the plug on Crucial. Rip Crucial, man. Anyways, if you want to see another 4K gaming PC, which we did with an RTX 5090, you can watch that video up there. With that being said, I'll catch you in the next one.